Hello, everyone. I feel a little bit like I was on a game show just now, but it probably helped me come down from the excitement and energy I was feeling after watching Torin talk, after watching Rocky challenge some of those conceptions that we see. And the thing that I'm coming into this session thinking about was this idea of reimagining DEI. It's one of those things that has been top of mind for me for a long time because I realized that there's a chance that I could have never ended up sitting in front of all of you to have this conversation in the first place. And so today I want to talk about reimagining DEI from the angle of how we ask. But I want to start by talking about the story that helps me understand how impactful that legacy is. And, there were so many inspirational stories I could tell, but the reality is that the ones that's most authentic to me, the one that I know I can tell best is my own. And so I'm about to show a slide that I second guessed sharing quite a few times, but I think you all get a good laugh out of this. So what you're looking at on the screen right now is me when I was about 13 years old. Bad bangs, bad teeth and all. And I grew up in a family where there was this running joke that there were three things you could do with your life. That you could join the military, you could work on the family farm, or you could do nothing. And there's actually a philosophy that aligns with that, and it's called the breakfast table effect. And what the breakfast table effect says is that the conversations that happen at your breakfast table directly impact the career that you might have. And one moment changed everything for me as far as that path out. See, my very first job was not in recruiting or HR. It actually didn't have anything to do with the degree I went and got. I taught kids how to read, write, and do math. I worked in a for-profit tutoring center in a strip mall outside of Washington, D.C., and this surely was not what I imagined for my life when it came to picturing those big dreams after college. And in that time, I taught a lot of kids how to read, but there was one really special kid named Hope. And I swear I'm not making that up for dramatic effect. And one day I sat down with Hope's dad to talk about the next steps and where she was at in her reading program. And as I went through my conversation, I watched him start to get this puzzled look on his face. And he leaned forward and at the time, I didn't have a lot of polish or professional experience at all. And then I did something that I imagine was very awkward for him. I looked him dead in the eye and I said, "Why are you looking at me like that?" And he kind of laughed and he said, "I think you're smart and I think you should work for me." I showed up to the first interview in jeans and a t-shirt and he still gave me a chance. And I'm telling you that story because it illustrates perfectly this idea that we can look beyond traditional requirements. Because a lot of those requirements are based in biases that we don't want to perpetuate inside of our organizations. And I'm telling you that story too because I won't sit here and make a business case for diversity. To be clear, I think that business case has been made very, very strongly by our first two speakers and plenty of research. But to me, this conversation is about humanity. It's about access. It's about dignity and opportunity in this world. And our legacy, when we sit on the other side of this equation, when we lead the conversations, when we challenge what's happening in this world, what we do is that we leave a legacy not just on an organization, but a person. That's what that man did for me. He changed how I thought about work and opportunity. He made me realize that everyone deserves access and that it shouldn't be some checkbox approach. That the legacy that we leave, the legacy we lead, matters. And it matters how we talk about bias. And it matters that we change the way we've always done things, because if you actually want to change the world, if you want to leave this legacy correctly, I think what we're actually saying is that we have to do something different. Because if you look back over the last 100 years, not a lot has changed. And frankly, that's what this slide is going to tell you. You don't need to get your glasses out to stare and read every single line, because what it says is that there are a lot of reasons that people may encounter bias, and you are no exception. If by the grace of God, you have the opportunity to get old, you may experience bias in your life. And job postings can be a hub of that bias. They are a center spoke. And if we want to change who we invite, we have to change how we ask. And the thing is that we can't do that by copying and pasting job postings or generating a bunch from AI. AI can't remove bias because everything we've done up to this point has been full of it. Every single thing. And when we copy and paste content from the internet and pretend that it is representative of our job, of our culture, because we think it sounds good, we like it, the thing no one will tell you, there's no warning label or little warning message that pops up from some chatbot to tell you that you have copied and pasted the bias of that organization into your post. That you have copied and pasted all their preconceived notions about what good means and what you're actually looking for. And that ultimately it will lead to dire consequences, not necessarily for a career, or for your legacy, but it's that career, because we can leave the wrong legacy. It's the changes we make today that leave a legacy on people. And I absolutely refuse to continue to participate in this copy and paste bias when we know better. I'm currently deeply in the process of doing a 100-year research study of job postings. I think what will shock all of you and hopefully shake some of you into a motivation for change is the fact that job postings haven't changed much in the last 100 years. But when I look at the people who are participating in this conversation, when I think about what the world looks like today, a lot has changed. A lot of those people couldn't even get jobs 100 years ago. And the only difference in the posting is that they were very obvious about their bias back then. They would say, white men only apply here. And if we want to build a better world, I believe one of the most influential things you can do when we rethink DEI, when we think about our legacy and taking it well beyond a checkbox, is to change our requirements. The bar, job postings, have stood to keep people out for hundreds of years. This is what we can do to invite them in. Even in 15 minutes, I think we have this opportunity to make a big change. And here are a few things where I want to see you challenging requirements with managers. The first is years of experience. And let me give you an example that will make this one really obvious. Who here has heard of Jeff Bezos? Go ahead, type it in the chat. I want to see who's here. You heard of Jeff Bezos? Usually that's a pretty universal. Yeah, you've heard of him. Okay. Well, Jeff Bezos and I have both been CEOs for 5 years. We have both worked in high-tech companies. We've both led teams. We've both done a series of the same tasks. But you wouldn't necessarily hire Jeff Bezos and I for the exact same role just because we have 5 years of executive experience, right? I run a small writing company that uses technology. I'm no Amazon leader. Years of experience will quantify time. It'll tell you how long someone did the work. It does not qualify people. What I've also seen from these years of experience is that they often are inherently ageist. When I say 1 year of experience, that manager expects someone young to show up. And when we put 25 years of experience, we expect someone older to show up, when in reality, we're just trying to understand if you can do the damn job. Oh, and by the way, most of those numbers are completely made up. I mean, what does someone with 5 years know that someone with 4 probably doesn't know? Most managers can't even answer that question. The next are those college degree requirements. And in my research, the first time you'll ever see a college degree requirement is in the 1960s, specifically centered in the Southeast. What was happening in the world in the 1960s, specifically in the Southeast? We were seeing the civil rights movement. We were trying to give people more access to work. And it is proof of the barriers we create without even thinking about it. They knew people didn't have access to college degrees. And now, exactly, John, we've continued to move the goalpost. And today, 60 years later, we are still copying and pasting miscellaneous degree requirements that do not align with success. I want my doctor to have a degree, okay? I want my accountant to have a degree. I want my lawyer to have a degree. They've all learned how to do their job in school. I do not care if my recruiter has a degree. And you have a responsibility to challenge that one, because college is a privilege, not a right. And every single time you copy and paste that college degree, what you say is that you must be privileged to work at your organization, and you continue to maintain those artificial barriers. I mean, just this week, I saw that the person who drives the Wienermobile, you know, that Oscar Mayer giant hot dog thing, they are requiring a college degree. I have some major questions about what degree aligns with learning how to drive a giant hot dog around the country. If you want to leave a legacy on that entry-level talent, stop adding arbitrary requirements. I don't need a laundry list of requirements. If it's entry-level, tell them you'll teach them everything they need to know. Stop pretending that entry-level candidates have to have experience. Then you need to realign the compensation. Stop making it up. We're creating barriers that give people who have all the hope in the world, just like I did when I walked out of college, it crushes their hope to believe they're not qualified for anything. I don't want to see any more preferred requirements. I'm going to say it. Preferences are for restaurants, not for job postings, okay? If you want cheese on your salad, if you like pepper, whatever. Preferred requirements are not universally understood. The people on the other side can't just read them and make a decision, because one person reads it and says that's just a preference, while the other person reads it and opts out. And when we know that great minds are opting out from incredible opportunities that they are surely qualified for, we aren't doing the work. And finally, if you've heard of the augmented writing, you have most certainly heard about gender bias. But I want you to think of it from that perspective of not only do we have this opportunity to optimize and open the door, but on the other side of gender bias, also understanding that some of that technology may be flawed. It's built off of a database of keywords that gender words. And it's a last stop, not a starting point for creating something that's inclusive. You have an opportunity today and every single day that you are hiring to open the door for someone and change their life. To change the destiny that society may have put on them. To help them be inspired and reimagine what is possible for their career. And I want all of us to remember that when we have those hard conversations, when the complicated arises, which inevitably it always will. I want you to remember that this isn't just about taking on the fight. It's about kicking open the door. And I hope that every single day you remember that weighty and large opportunity that we have to crack the door a little bit more and provide access to opportunity for people from every background, but especially the people who may have grown up just like you did. And so I am incredibly excited and inspired by every conversation that happened here today. And of course, there's never enough time to actually dig into these issues. And so we don't have time for questions today, but you shouldn't hesitate to reach out. I am the only Katrina Kibben in the world, so if you spell my name right, you'll find me. If you spell my name wrong, you will find a priest for the U.S. House of Representatives, and you will absolutely know you are in the wrong place because, look at me, that's a gay joke. You are allowed to laugh. And with these final 2 minutes, I want you to get your phones out and I want you to scan the QR code on this screen, because the gap between knowing how to do better and actually taking action is simply giving the information. It's allowing people to elevate no matter what. And that's one of the biggest goals in my career, is to keep pushing us toward what best really means and inviting people in. This ebook will take everything that we talked about today and provide you context, a little more detail, and specific action items that you can take, because when we open the door, we change someone's life. This is so much bigger than a business case. I can't calculate the impact of transformation, but I can tell you it can change someone's whole life to see an opportunity and feel like it's possible for them. I'm so thankful to be here. I want to give a big shout out to Rocky for bringing such smart people together. And at this time, I want to hand it over to your next presenter, who I am very, very lucky to be able to join a panel with soon. And please stay tuned for our panel. All three of the speakers you're about to see, including myself, are going to join together with my friend Chris to talk about these issues more in depth. Thank you so much for your energy and time. I can't wait to see what you do next.